multifamily syndications are a lot like flipping. I mean, it's essentially you come in with a fixed time window, and you need to sell it, and then you need to be looking for a new property. Well, it's the same in land. I mean, we have contracts with people that last 5 years. We have to renew those at some point.
Welcome back to the show. Today I have Mike and Ligia on the show, and I'm excited to share their story with you. Mike and Ligia, how are you both doing?
We are great, Arsenio. Thanks for asking, and thank you very much for having us on your show.
Yes, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad to another set of awesome guests here to share their story and just show the audience that they can do it too, even with their own spouse. Again, this is my second episode with another spouse, and I'm really glad to have you on to share your story. And let's go ahead and get it started. So, can you both share your story, your background, so the audience members can, get to know you and know a little bit more about you, and we'll get this thing going.
Of course, yeah, happy to. You want to kick it off with your background, and I'll come in?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Romania,
Okay.
and I lived there for until I was 34. And I met my husband Mike here. We both worked for the same company. It was a manufacturing company called Nokia, and we met there and fell in love. And my husband Mike, lived there for 3 years with an expat contract. We got to know each other, got married, moved in the US, and yeah. How about you kick it off from here?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, like Lydia said, we both kind of come from corporate backgrounds. We were office workers. My background is supply chain and operations pretty deeply. And as Lydia mentioned, in 2006, I got an expat contract to go start up a factory in Romania, and went over there. Yeah, like Ligia said, we met right away in the office. I don't know if we say love at first sight, but definitely there was like at first sight, and kind of rolled from there. We spent 3 years in Romania working. We got married over there, moved back in 2010. Also in the corporate world, I Microsoft purchased the handset division of Nokia right around that time, and so I became a Microsoft employee. I was traveling a ton, just a lot of responsibility. I was over the supply chain for the Americas, and just going through the daily grind. Lygia had a job as well in healthcare. We were both just kind of living what people come to think of as the American dream. Both people working, house, cars, bills, all that stuff. Not really doing much. Well, then in 2016, that summer of 2016, both got let go from our companies as Lygia's company was consolidating. They closed their local office. We were in Dallas Fort Worth at the time. Closed their local office. Same with Microsoft. They were going through a reduction and really consolidating some of the operations. And so we both found ourselves out of work. And that was our only source of income at the time. So, our immediate reaction was, we got to get back into the workforce and get a job. And as we were going through that process, we took a moment to kind of check in, think about it. I had just, gut wrenching anxiety about what kind of company am I going to get on with? Are we going to have to relocate? What's the company culture going to be like? And, all the office politics that come with things or whatever, just really wasn't looking forward to restarting at the ground with another company. And so various things lined up in our path, but one of them was land investing, or not really investing, but land flipping. So buying and selling vacant land. And essentially you buy it for pennies on the dollar. There's a formula to go about doing that. And then you resell it at the market value. And so we decided to go in on that and give it a shot. And we did. And, we can fast forward through the story a little bit more in the podcast, but, it took us a little bit of time, maybe 18, 24 months, and we had started building up a really nice income stream. Then we diversified into multifamily just as a way to diversify, but also, as you probably know, you get great tax benefits. And so, we kept more money in our pocket in that way. And yeah, today we're, kind of living our dream. We live in the mountains of Colorado, work from home, manage a few businesses. Life is great. So that's kind of the high level story.
So you both was met in Romania and decided later on in life that your corporate jobs, there wasn't one, they let you go. And it was no guarantee, no income coming in. So you said you started looking into land development or land flipping land, right?
Flipping
What
land.
led you to that? I know that you didn't have the income coming in, but uh, did you just up and decide like, okay, let's just go ahead and start in land, or was a friend that offered it to you, or what led you to get into flipping land?
Yeah, it's a great question because Lidge and I were just talking about this morning, but a lot of times we get in a path and it becomes a bit like a bubble, and we don't get exposed to other opportunities or even other possibilities in life. And we were that way. We were both, on that corporate treadmill, just looking for a raise every year, maybe a promotion. I really wasn't a job hopper. But a little bit before 2016, in the lead up to that moment, we had revisited Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Robert Kiyosaki book, right? And so it just awakened this concept of how do we start to create cash flow or get into something, where we can be more in control of our income. And so we already had this spark of an idea to explore. I think at that time it was more of a side hustle, right? We thought, okay, well, let's get a rental property or let's look at some other ways. But we hadn't acted on it because we were both working full-time jobs and just living life. And so, but what I was doing was listening to some podcasts, just like this, right? You hear people's stories and it makes you think about things in a different way. And so on two different podcasts, I heard two different guests that were doing land investing. And so I had started looking into it. I even bought what was called at the time a toolkit, which was a kind of a do-it-yourself way to start the business. But I hadn't looked at it, right? It came in the mail. It was a series of binders and some DVDs. And I just put it on the desk in the office because I was working full time and I just didn't really have the time to go through materials, or I didn't take the time. I had the time for sure. But so anyway, in that moment, it afforded us that opportunity to say, hey, what about this? What if this could work? And so we had some savings in the bank, and we also got severance from being let go. And so we had a little bit of a financial cushion. I have two daughters from a previous marriage that were adulting in a way. They were getting into university age. And so they were pretty much taken care of. We only had each other to really look after. And so our risk tolerance was a bit higher to be able to try something. And then we always thought, if this doesn't work, we can just go get jobs again, or pivot into something else. And so, yeah, it was really that combination of events that allowed us to say, yeah, let's give it a shot. So we said, hey, let's give ourselves a year to make this happen. Let's put a budget of some seed capital into the business to get going. We invested in some coaching to help us stand up a business and go faster than we would have gone on our own. Plugged into a community of a few other people that were doing this type of business. And so all of those factors really allowed us to get up and going a lot more quickly. But it was really just a couple of key events that clicked into place at the same time that allowed us to think differently and take a risk, which actually, now we laugh when we look back on it, like the bigger risk was probably getting back into the corporate world and just staying in that lane, getting a paycheck, being at the mercy of a company that could reassign you or lay you off again or something. Now we're in total control of our income. I mean, it's amazing. And, it's new year. We're thinking about, okay, what other things can we do? And so it's a little bit comical sometimes what we think of as a risk in the moment. That's really not at all.
Yeah, I want to go back to your point in regards to the books, the podcast. And then that mindset that you got, that mind shift that you got in when you can have control of your time, your money, it's a different aspect. And this is why a lot of individuals investors love the concept of investing in real estate. And the real estate game, it is, there's so many things that you can do in order to build or create multiple streams of income. So multifamily, single family, residential, commercial, land development, land investing. Like there's so many things that you can do, and that's why I love this. I think
Yeah.
I'm not. I think I know you guys are the first ones where I have like that invested actually in land, and then you diversified into multifamily later on. So, Ligia, I would love for you to share your side of story too, as far as when you decided like we both in this together. We're both going to start doing this. I would like to see like how you both like work together and what you both like bring to the table and just I know you working at Nokia and you working with Microsoft a little bit because Microsoft ended up buying Nokia.
Right.
How y'all decided with your jobs and the things that you did in your job, what it translated to getting into a business and creating your own corporation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And for me, going back and looking back in that transition time, because Mike and I were both laid off quite in the same time. In 2016, we were both laid off from our jobs, and I remember there were two things that I realized. First of all, there was no job security. That's job security is an illusion. Like you can get let go, or they can just move offices and it might not align with your lifestyle or where you want to be. And the second one was that we were both so fed up with the office politics, with the office environment, with the everything that was going on in having a corporate job, that we really wanted to try something different and new for our lives. And I think that we were both aligned in that way, that we both were hungry to try something new. We really wanted to try our own, to have our own business, to create our own cash flow, to have a little bit more control of our time, of our finances, of the places we want to live, to have that freedom of location, time, and finances. So in that way, we were both really ready to go. We were fueled and ready to go and start our journey into new venture.
Yeah, Ligia comes from a vastly different background than me, and which is a fascinating story in and of itself, right? She grew up in communist under a dictator until she was 15, and revolution happened and all this stuff. So, when we were in this moment, I remember Ligia's tolerance for risk and trying something new. She was there. She was like, let's do it. And just, really encouraging us to go do this thing. And I come from more of the poor dad philosophy, right? Where you have a job and you save up and you put in your 401k and you got to have a certain cushion in the bank and all, so my risk tolerance is a lot lower, but we were ready to go at that moment. Like,
and to really answer the second part of your question, like Mike and I have different skill sets, and I come from my background in all the previous jobs that I had were I was an administrative assistant in an administrative support role. So for me, it's very easy and it just fits like a glove. Like I like doing things. I like, doing tasks. And Mike has a different skill set. He's more of a visionary. He keeps us structured. He keeps us like looking at the key metrics and where we're going. And I think that we both fit very well because of our skill sets as well, but also we have I would say, and I can boast without apologizing, we have a wonderful relationship, and our communication skills and style helps us, come to a place where we can communicate with each other and we feel heard and there's no defensiveness and we work together very well. And that helps a lot.
Yeah. Just communicating. That's a big thing when it comes to both the couples investing in a big thing that's going to transform their lives and possibly transform their future of their kids' lives too, because this is a wealth building, wealth generation. You want to build wealth for the generation, not just for a short time period, but forever for your family. And hopefully your kids can either take it and make it grow when you pass on, or you can pass this along to the kids, and this can be a instrument of income for them too, not just working in a corporate job, just seeing these opportunities that's built by their parents that they can take on and build on in the near future as well. With the land development, right? What do you look for as far as metrics when it comes to looking at land, purchasing the land, and then either flipping it and making it better or making it profitable? How do you look at those metrics, and what do you do? What's your criteria for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is a little bit different. So, with the land flipping model, there's no value add. There's no, like, we don't come in and make any changes, or we don't wait for appreciation. So it is quite literally aligned with the saying that you make your money on the buy in real estate. And so we are directly contacting property owners that own land in a market that we like. And so there's a few criteria. There's land everywhere, and there are ways to work with it in different ways. You can look in urban areas with smaller lots for homes, or there's commercial real estate. We do a lot more in rural areas. So we love Colorado since we live here. We're just attracted to that. So we buy a lot of 1 to 10 acre properties that people can go camp on, or put a cabin on, or do things like that. And so, first of all, we find a market that we like, and typically that entails a lot of property owners, because it's a percentage game with us. So let's say there's 1,000 property owners in a certain area. Well, we'll do a direct mailing campaign or an outreach campaign, and we'll make a sub-market value offer. We'll come in and say, we like your property. We'd love to buy this. We can make you an offer of X, which happens to be, let's just say 30% on the dollar for what we have gone and analyzed the property values in that area. Let's say they're worth $10,000 on average. Then we'll come in and say, hey, we'll offer you $3,000 or $3,500 or something like that. And so we already know when we buy the property, we have a profit margin there, and it's usually 2 to 4 times on a quick flip. A lot of what we do today is we owner finance. And so, if we have a piece of property and it's worth $30,000, we'll offer it to you for, $1,000 down and a $300 a month payment or something. And so we have, at this point, like, we could not work this whole year and still make a 6-figure income, because we have a bunch of promissory notes coming in of people paying on their land. And so, and we will do that. We'll go visit Ligia's family in the spring. We usually take a month off and we'll go. And last year we did the same thing. We went in the month of April, and we had our biggest month revenue wise ever. I think, like, it just, we had money coming in, we had a few sales happen. And so the land model is super simple. It's incredibly low risk, because you're not buying a property unless there's a margin there.
Right.
The things that can go wrong are very limited. You could make a mistake in due diligence or with the comps. It's hard to do, but it can be done, I guess. But you have an asset. Land doesn't appreciate or depreciate too quickly in the normal marketplace. Like, okay, right. if you get in a zone of growth, like, outside of Houston or New York, or okay, that's a different scenario. But in general, it's not swinging wildly. So the risk is super low. That's what we loved about coming in and starting this business was, it didn't take a lot of capital to get started. The returns are great. We just fed that back into the business and let it snowball over the years. But it's a very simplistic business model. There's certainly nuances. I mean, there's different ways to automate, to use outsourced help, there's all kinds of tools and things that can make it a little more complicated. But at the high level, it's just really a simple and elegant business model. And so it's our cash cow today. We love it for that. Just, it's a little bit like a puzzle trying to find the right market and get in. And it's surprising. I think when we started, I don't know that either of us really believed that it was going to be a sustainable business model, and could we even pay our bills? But
Yeah.
we quickly got to the point to where we were paying our bills, we were making a profit, then we got to the point to where we were making more than we were in our corporate careers, and then it just accelerated from there. I think we had a 10-year vision of a mountain home, and it came in 4 years or what. So it was just it was really an incredible opportunity that I'm so glad we took. And yeah, it's been great. And then our problem became, after 2 or 3 years, we were making too much money, and therefore we were paying way too much in taxes. And I think we got that first big tax bill, and we were like, holy crap.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. And so then we started looking at other opportunities. And another book in the Kiyosaki family, but Tom Wheelwright, who is more his tax guy and CPA, he has a book called Tax-Free Wealth, I think it's called.
Okay.
But it talks about all the incentives that the government has in place for, housing being one of those. And so that's really what pulled us into multifamily housing. But there's others out there, oil and gas, different opportunities where you can take advantage of really great government incentives, where you're doing a service to the country, right? You're investing in energy, you're investing in housing, you're employing people, right? They will give you tax credits or tax benefits or subsidies or whatever, right? There's different incentive programs out there for the citizens of the United States to do the things that the government would like things to be done, like agriculture, make food. There's essential needs that the government doesn't want to do themselves, and so they incentivize people, and that's what pulled us into multifamily. And now we make great income and we pay virtually no taxes. I think we have a small residual bill that's kind of the mandatory minimum that everybody has to pay, but it's incredible. It's just it's a great setup.
The tax benefits, that's the big thing. You say you started making too much money, and some people are probably listening and like, making too much money,
it's a terrible problem.
Yeah. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, you can make a lot of money, but you could pay a lot in taxes. And that's the thing when it comes to real estate. You can save on taxes and pay up to zero in when you do the cost segregation or cost appreciation on your property. You could pay up to zero.
We're real estate professionals by profession, and so we get unlimited depreciation. We can offset 100% of our income with depreciable assets, and so that's kind of our strategy every year is to find and invest in depreciable assets to offset our income for the year.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to be the one paying taxes all that. If you're a W-2 worker, you can make 200, 300K a year annually, but in the end, you're going to get taxed the most if you don't have any other assets. If you don't have it, you can say your home is an asset, but it's really not. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's not. It's actually a liability until you have a property where you do own and is bringing in income, like not just your own house that you own, not your primary residence, but an actual residence that bringing in income. You have tenants in place that's paying that mortgage for you, paying down on that mortgage, or you have multiple assets. That's what you want to do in order for you to minimize the as much as you can on paying taxes, and you don't have to worry about anything. That's the beautiful thing about owning real estate in this game. You got into the multifamily after the land development, right? And let's say, what did you look for as far as multifamily? Is there a specific thing that you look for in multifamily? Are you a limited partner or general partner in this thing? Like, how are you looking at these opportunities with the multifamily side of things?
Yes, we so like I mentioned, we read the Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. We started getting interested in depreciable assets. We spent a little bit of time investigating self-storage, multifamily, a couple different options, and there really wasn't there's nothing out there that says this is the best asset class. And so we just decided we really liked multifamily because it is an essential need. You're doing some good in the community. So we did the same thing we did when we started our land business. We found a group that we liked, that resonated with our values, and we joined to accelerate our learning journey, found good partners, somebody that could help sponsor deals. And And we've done all of what you just listed. So we started out as limited partners, right? We invested passively in deals. We learned the language of multifamily. We got to see a slice of how multifamily deals work. And the group that we were in and what we do today is really 100 unit plus value add type properties, right? So you at the time that we joined, you could get really good loans that included some amount of capital expenditure to dress a property up, right? Go and renovate rooms, fix up the grounds, add value, forced appreciation, it's called, right? So you appreciate the value by coming in and making improvements to it. And then you have a more valuable asset after those improvements are done. And so that's kind of the model that we're in. And yeah, we did that. We started passively. We got to know people. We got to understand who we wanted to partner with. And, that was one of our biggest early takeaways was in any type of, and these are syndications, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but, other people, this is where you pool investors' money to help purchase an asset. And there's a small group or a person that's leading the effort that's more the key principal or something there. And so more than anything, the success of deals for the most part is really comes down to who's leading the charge there, right? As with anything, there's a person making decisions and executing a project plan and putting things together. And so, one of our early takeaways was it's super important who the sponsor is and making sure that person, and are they, do they have good character and values? What are they going to do at the first sign of trouble? Are they leaning into it, or are they, shutting down, or all those kind of things? And so we started as limited partners. We quickly found out that all of these deals require investors and money. And so everyone was looking for people to help bring equity into deals. And so we started raising capital and building an investor base so that we could help in that way, as well as with communications. And then, after a few deals like that, we graduated up to finding our own deals, making connections with brokers, getting into key markets and looking for things. And so we've served as key sponsors for a couple of deals. And then, 2023 was a rough year for everybody, just because interest rates went up, lending terms really tightened. You couldn't get near the loan to value plus cap. All these things made it a lot intentionally, right? By design, right? The Federal Reserve came out and said, we need to slow down this market. And so, all of that had its intended consequences. And so we sat on the sidelines most of last year and really just waited to see what was going to happen. And markets seem to be improving. There's some distressed deals out there, more coming. And so, we'll see what 2024 is. But multifamily, housing in general, there's just a shortage, and it's not going away anytime soon because they can't make enough to overcome the shortfall, right? We had the pandemic, and there was already a housing shortage. And so housing in and of itself is a need that's always going to be there. We're of the mind that multifamily is a great space to be in. It's truly hard to make enough of an income with short-term rentals, or if you're making a couple $100s a month, maybe how many of those deals do you have to stack up before it's something substantial? And so that's really what draws us into larger multifamily. However, our longer term view is we'd really like to have a handful of properties that we do own outright and that we can cash flow forever, right? And like you mentioned, hand down to our families at some point. So we will pivot into that pretty soon, whether that's a small partnership, maybe with a couple people, or if we find some things outright. That's more the long-term vision. I don't want to. Multifamily syndications are a lot like flipping. It's essentially you come in with a fixed time window and you need to sell it, and then you need to be looking for a new property. Well, it's the same in land. We have contracts with people that last 5 years. We have to renew those at some point.
Right.
And so, ultimately, I don't want to be chasing deals my whole life. I want to be having long-term cash flow, whether it's a business or a rental property or properties or something there. And so, we're starting to step in that direction a little bit more so that we can build out that roadmap. And we actually enjoy what we do. We love working together. And so life is good right now and we don't mind it, but 5-10 years down the road, we certainly will envision something a bit different.
Awesome. Ligia, I would love to hear from you, and the audience probably would too, especially.
Yeah, sorry, I'm dominating.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I mean, you both kind of have the same like mindset when it comes to real estate, and when it comes to communication, you communicate with each other well. So you probably both thinking the same thing and probably don't have much to add, but I would love to hear your side of the story on this topic as well. Specifically, I want you to share, there's women in this industry, or some women in this industry, not many that's like out there and being vocal with real estate, and maybe don't know the game that much. Can you share some insights for, the women that should be and shouldn't be afraid to get into this business, and what it is, what it takes to get into real estate, the real estate game, or the business in itself?
I can try.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. And what I want the audience to know is like, she's coming from a different country, and yes, she has a partner in it, but she's still in the game with her spouse. Like, you don't have to have a spouse in particular, but having a partner that you communicate with and you share those same goals as y'all have shared is important. So I just would like either you share that or just share some insights that you have or add-ons to what Mike has shared.
Sure, I can only speak from experience, but being together with my husband in this industry, we started in land, and I remember many times that I really had to, there was a few obstacles that I had to overcome. First was my money story. Like I had to audit what's happening between my ears about the money story. I realized, because I came from a very poor country back then, poor background, I thought, I don't deserve to make money. Who am I to want to make money? And I felt very guilty of wanting to have cash flow in my life, and I know it's because of the culture I was living in, and also because of my background. I lived in a very Christian conservative household where it was, there's a saying, the quote, "The love of money is the root of all evil." And I really had to break that barrier and change and shift my paradigm. And then another thing, I realized that I have an accent, and I was afraid to talk to people because I thought they're not going to want to buy a piece of property from me. They're not going to want to buy land from me because I have an accent. And it was all in my head, because I don't know if people had an issue with or not with my accent, but I realized that I'm not going to care. I'm going to change my story. If someone has a problem with my accent, I don't necessarily want to do business with them. And yes, it is a male dominating industry. And we as women are more, I would say the majority of us are probably more insecure, but we just have to find our strengths, and we just have to find our own story. What do I want to tell myself today? And not listen to everybody, what I think everybody says. And it's really many times it's our own makeup story, because I have never had anybody saying to me that, "Oh, you have an accent, I'm not trusting you, I don't want to buy property from you." But I think it's really important to rise up as women and do what we want to do without being intimidated by men. And I wish that I had more tips in that regard.
Those are awesome.
But
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I really had to overcome a few things. There are more personal to me, but I'm sure other women have their own things to overcome. And it's just very important to realize life is short. It doesn't matter. I'm a female or I'm a male. I want to go. I want to take action, and I want to do what I want to do, because I only have a life to live.
I think what you shared was perfect, because when we put these, what I call limited beliefs, I'm working with a coach right now, and he's telling me, he's talking to me about having those limited beliefs. And I brought it up actually, just when I originally started, these limiting beliefs, these stories that you put in your head, they are so powerful and can keep you in a place where you won't be able to excel because you put these stories in your head, these fake stories in your head, and no one's telling you this. It's you yourself telling you these stories that's keeping you in the same place. And overcoming that took some time, right? It took some time for me to build up like the confidence to start a podcast, to start in real estate, to talk to people, tell them what I'm doing, to raise capital. It took some time to do that because I kept putting these beliefs in my head like, I'm not enough. I'm not this guy. I'm not the guy to do it. And I had to, you know, do some self affirmations. People think that, it's not that powerful, but it can be a very powerful thing when you put yourself in the mindset, I can do this. I am the man, I'm the guy or the woman, the gal to share my story, as you said, share my story and overcome these obstacles. And I can do this. Like it maybe it's a small thing and people think like it's maybe a cliche or not really much of that powerful of a thing to do, but having those affirmations for me worked for me. And again, like sharing your story, I enjoy it. Both of you sharing your stories on how you got into this business has been great.
Well, Arsenio, I will just say really quickly,
yeah,
those affirmations, whatever you want to call them, they're running whether you control them or not. There's a playlist running in your head, whether you want it or not. And more times than not, it's 80% negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is those thoughts because whatever, we evolved that way to focus on fears more than pleasures just to survive or whatever, right? But they're there. And so you might as well take charge and say, this is the playlist that I want to run in my head. It's not that one, it's this one. So yeah, I mean, we do affirmations, we do other things as well. And it's, some people call it woo woo or whatever, but I mean, that script is running. And so you might as well take charge of it and say, hey, I don't accept that. I want this one to be my identity or whatever. Right. So it is an important thing to do. I mean, we face the same things. Everybody does.
Yeah. You put those false things in your head, you're going to continue. You're going to live that. That's what you're going to live by. Yeah. But Ligia, were you going to add something to that?
I just wanted to add something. When I heard the first time this concept of auditing your belief system, it was so shocking to me to realize what I tell myself on a regular basis, just exactly what Mike said, the playlist that plays all the time without me being conscious about it. Yeah. Like, and it was when I was like, I really want to audit my belief system. What do I believe about myself? I was shocked. So I really encourage people to try that. Really audit. What do you believe about yourself, about money, about the way you want to take action, about your ability to have a business, about it's shocking. And then it was the first step. You realize exactly what I have to tear down and to replace them with a new belief system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Building that new belief system.
Yeah.
You move forward. We're going to end it right there. I think that's perfect.
Right. It's exciting.
We could go on for more time.
For sure.
I'm sure we can. But I want to get the audience just to how can they connect with you, invest with you, whatever the case may be. And before that, do you have any final thoughts that you want to give to the audience? And then you can share how people can connect with you on either social medias or through your company.
Sure. Maybe just to summarize what we've talked about, I would say, the title and subject matter of your podcast being Action Takers. It took a series of events for us to open ourselves up, but I encourage anybody to do that, to just take action. To real estate, you've mentioned it, is such a powerful vehicle because you can do it without money, you can use sweat equity, or you can do it with money. You can do some combination in between. You can use bank leverage. You can use private leverage. It's as creative as you want to be. You can play small, renting a room out of your house, or you can play big in a 500 unit multifamily deal. So it's just a huge playing field. And so I think for me, encouraging people just to continue to educate like this, listen to podcasts, get great books. There's some amazing books out there. I'm a book generation. there's a YouTube generation out there. So there's infinitely more content on YouTube. And so I would just encourage people to take action. And, we are more than happy to talk to anybody. We have meetings every week with people that just want to pick our brains, or with people that are interested in learning more about what we do. So we have a landing page. It's called flippingdirt.us, and it's /freedom. So flippingdirt.us/freedom, where it's our launch pad. I mean, we have contact information. You can book a calendar appointment. We have a couple of ebooks on land. You can find our multifamily website out of that. So that's the best one-stop shop for people to be able to get in touch with us, I would say. And yeah, I mean, it's great. I encourage it. It transformed our lives fundamentally for the better. And so, I mean, it's something I encourage people to do, regardless of where you are in life.
Absolutely. Anything you would like to add? Your final thoughts or anything?
It's hard to add after what Mike said, but what I want to add is if you want to take action, surround yourself with action takers. Surround yourself with people that can encourage you to move forward, and that you can get inspired by and learn and grow.
That's it. That's a beautiful way. Yeah, Ligia. Finish line. I see. She's a closer, huh? She's a closer. That's what it is. She's a closer in the family. Mike and Ligia, it's been awesome, incredible hearing your story, sharing your story. I want to thank you for your time, reaching out to me through Yona's LinkedIn challenge. Yeah. It's been great. And I look forward to seeing more and possibly working with you in the future. And again, it's been incredible. It's been incredible for you sharing your story. And I think the audience can take a lot of strategies now and start taking action themselves and get into this either real estate game or starting their own business or whatever they want to do in life. So thank you again for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you, Arsenio. And thank you for your service and all you do living overseas and helping out in the ways that you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.